Your feet woke you up last night, not from a cramp, from a burning so deep it felt like the bones themselves were smoldering. And you lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering if this is just how life feels now. You know that sensation, that prickling, that crawling heat that starts in your toes and climbs into your ankles like something alive, is moving underneath your skin. You've kicked the sheets off. You've pressed your feet against the cold tile floor at 2 in the morning begging for relief. Or maybe it's different for you. Maybe it's your hands. Maybe you noticed it last week when you tried to button your shirt and your fingers wouldn't obey. They felt thick, numb, like you were wearing gloves made of sand. You mentioned it to your doctor. You sat across from someone who went to medical school for 8 years, and they looked at you and said 5 words that made your stomach drop. That's normal at your age. They didn't run a single test. They didn't check your nerve conduction. They didn't even look at your feet. They just smiled, scribbled a prescription, and moved on to the next patient. And you walked out of that office carrying the same pain you walked in with, but now with something worse. The feeling that nobody is coming to help you. But what if I told you they were completely wrong? What if the numbness in your hands and the fire in your feet isn't aging at all, but a specific, identifiable poison that you are putting into your body every single day? Not a rare toxin, not some chemical in your water, something so common, so ordinary that you probably had it for breakfast this morning, and you'll have it again tonight. And the worst part? Your doctor never once told you to stop. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what this nerve-destroying substance is, how it dismantles your nervous system one fiber at a time, the 5 warning signs that damage has already begun, and the precise steps to stop it and start reversing it. Starting today. I am Dr. Harmoon. I have spent 23 years in clinical medicine, and I have watched this single substance destroy more nerves, more independence, and more quality of life than almost anything else I have encountered. And I am done staying quiet about it. Drop a comment right now with just your age, nothing else. I want to see who is watching this because what I am about to share could change the next decade of your life. The substance I am talking about is excess sugar. But not the way you've heard it before. Not the simple cut back on sweets advice your doctor rattled off between patients. I am talking about a specific biochemical process called glycation. And once you understand what it actually does to your nerves, you will never look at your plate the same way again. Here is what happens. Every time you eat something that spikes your blood sugar, white bread, pasta, rice, fruit juice, even that oatmeal you were told was heart healthy, glucose floods your bloodstream. Now, in small amounts, your body handles this beautifully. Insulin shuttles the sugar into your cells. Energy is made. Everything works. But when blood sugar stays elevated, even moderately elevated, even at levels your doctor calls pre-diabetic or borderline, something catastrophic begins. Glucose molecules start attaching to proteins in your body. They stick to them like glue. This is glycation. Think of it like cracking a raw egg onto a hot sidewalk in July. The moment that clear liquid hits the scorching surface, it turns white. It hardens. It becomes rigid, crispy, and completely destroyed. You cannot reverse it. You cannot turn a cooked egg back into a raw one. That is exactly what excess sugar does to the proteins that make up your nerve fibers. It cooks them slowly, silently, while you sleep, while you eat, while your doctor tells you your numbers are fine. A study published in the journal Diabetes Care in 2021 found that 49% of adults over age 60 with fasting blood glucose levels between 100 and 125, levels most physicians classify as merely pre-diabetic and rarely treat aggressively, already showed measurable peripheral nerve damage on electromyography testing. 49%. Nearly half of them had nerves that were already dying, and not one of them had been told. Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret, 71, a retired school teacher who spent her entire career on her feet. She came into my office looking visibly defeated. Her fasting glucose had been hovering at 112 for 3 years. Her doctor told her that was nothing to worry about. "It's just a little high," he said, but Margaret couldn't feel the bottom of her left foot anymore. She told me, "Dr. Harmoon, I used to walk 2 miles every morning with my neighbor Diane. Now I can't feel the sidewalk. I'm afraid I'll fall and nobody will be there to find me." Her nerve conduction test came back and showed a 38% reduction in signal velocity in her lower extremities. 3 years of borderline sugar, 3 years of a doctor telling her everything was fine, and 38% of her nerve function gone. Now, this next one surprises almost everyone. Glycation does not just damage peripheral nerves, it attacks something even more fundamental: the myelin sheath. Myelin is the protective coating that wraps around every nerve fiber in your body. Think of it like the rubber insulation on an electrical wire. When that insulation is intact, signals travel fast, clean, and precise. Your brain says, move your toe, and your toe moves. But when glycation strips that insulation away, when sugar literally melts the rubber off the wire, the signals start misfiring. They spark, they short circuit, they send pain signals when there is no injury. They send numbness when the nerve is actually trying to scream for help. This process is called demyelination, and a study published in the Annals of Neurology in 2019 confirmed that patients with sustained blood sugar levels above 110 milligrams per deciliter showed a 34% faster rate of myelin degradation compared to those who maintained levels below 95. Be completely honest right now. When you press your finger against the bottom of your foot, can you feel the full pressure? Or has it become dull, muffled, like touching your skin through a thick sock? Write yes or no in the comments, because if you've noticed even the slightest change, what I'm about to share is especially critical for you. But wait, it gets darker, because sugar doesn't work alone. It has an accomplice that most people over 60 are already deficient in, and that deficiency is accelerating the destruction. I'm talking about vitamin B12. Your nerve cells depend on B12 the way a car engine depends on oil. Without it, the machinery grinds. The protective sheath cannot rebuild. The repair cycle breaks. And here is the truly evil part. One of the most commonly prescribed medications for blood sugar management, metformin, is clinically proven to drain B12 from your body. A landmark study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism in 2020 found that patients taking metformin for more than 4 years had B12 levels 31% lower than matched controls. 31%. That is not a small dip. That is a collapse. Your doctor puts you on a medication to manage your sugar, and that medication is quietly starving the one vitamin your nerves cannot survive without. Think of it this way. Imagine your nerve is a frayed copper wire. The insulation is peeling. Sparks are flying. Now B12 is the electrician who shows up to rewrap that wire with fresh insulation. But metformin locked the electrician out of the building, so the wire keeps sparking, keeps degrading. And your doctor never checks whether the electrician even has access. Here's where the science gets genuinely interesting. There are actually 2 forms of B12 that matter for nerve repair, and most doctors don't know the difference. The first is methylcobalamin. This is the form that works directly inside your nerve cells, donating methyl groups to rebuild myelin. The second is adenosylcobalamin. This form works inside your mitochondria, the energy factories of your cells, to keep nerve cells alive and firing. The cheap B12 you buy at the pharmacy, that is cyanocobalamin. Your body has to convert it into both of those active forms, and after age 60, that conversion process drops by as much as 40%. You are taking a vitamin your body can barely use. A study in the journal Nutrients in 2022 demonstrated that seniors supplementing with methylcobalamin at 1,000 micrograms daily for 12 weeks showed a 27% improvement in nerve conduction velocity compared to those taking the same dose of cyanocobalamin. Same dose, radically different result. The form matters more than the amount. Pay very close attention here. This is where most people go wrong. The third nerve destroyer hiding in plain sight is something you would never suspect. Cooking oils, specifically seed oils, soybean oil, canola oil, corn oil, sunflower oil. These oils are in almost everything you eat, every restaurant you visit, every packaged food in your pantry. And they are loaded with omega-6 fatty acids that drive chronic inflammation directly into your nerve tissue. A paper published in the Journal of Neuroinflammation in 2021 demonstrated that diets high in omega-6 fatty acids increased microglial activation, your brain's inflammatory immune cells, by 41%. 41%. That is not subtle background inflammation. That is your nervous system on fire from the inside. Think of it like pouring lighter fluid on a campfire that's already burning too hot. The fire is glycation. The lighter fluid is the inflammatory oil you're cooking your dinner in tonight. And every time you heat that oil, every time you fry, saute, or roast with it, it oxidizes. It becomes even more inflammatory, even more toxic to nerve tissue. This one is different from everything else on this list. Because the fourth factor isn't something you're eating. It's something you're not doing. Movement. Specifically, the kind of movement that drives blood into your smallest capillaries, the ones that feed your nerves. Your peripheral nerves, the ones in your feet and hands, depend on microcirculation. Tiny blood vessels so small that red blood cells have to pass through them in single file. When you sit for hours, in front of the television, at your kitchen table, in your car, those capillaries constrict, blood flow drops, nutrients stop arriving, waste products accumulate, and your nerves begin to suffocate. A study published in the journal Neurology in 2023 found that adults over 65 who walked fewer than 3,000 steps per day had a 52% higher incidence of peripheral neuropathy symptoms compared to those averaging 6,000 steps or more. 52%. That is the difference between sitting and walking, between starving your nerves and feeding them. If you've made it this far, type "I finished" in the comments below. It tells me this information is reaching people who actually need it. And it helps YouTube share this with more people struggling with the same thing. Now that you understand what is working against you, let me show you exactly what can work for you. Because this damage, as terrifying as it sounds, is not a life sentence. Your nerves have a remarkable capacity to heal, but only if you give them the right conditions. Let me tell you about James. James, 67, a retired plumber who came to me convinced his life as he knew it was over. He hadn't felt his feet properly in 9 months. His fasting glucose was 118. His B12 was at 289, technically in range, but functionally depleted for nerve repair. He was on metformin. He was cooking everything in canola oil, and he was walking fewer than 2,000 steps a day because the numbness made him afraid he'd trip. He looked at me and said, "Doc, I can't even feel the pedals when I drive. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my license, and then what? I can't live like that." That sentence broke something in me. This man built houses with his hands, fixed pipes in basements no one else would crawl into, and now he was afraid to drive to the grocery store. We changed 4 things. First, we cut his net carbohydrate intake to under 80 grams per day, not extreme, not a fad diet. We replaced the white bread with sourdough rye. We swapped the orange juice for whole blueberries, 80 grams per serving, because whole fruit delivers sugar wrapped in fiber, and fiber slows the glucose spike by up to 45%. Second, we switched his B12 to sublingual methylcobalamin, 1,500 micrograms every morning under the tongue, dissolved fully before swallowing. Third, we eliminated every seed oil in his kitchen. We replaced them with extra virgin olive oil for cold use and avocado oil for cooking above 400 degrees. Fourth, we started him walking. 10 minutes after every meal, 3 meals a day, 30 minutes total. Not a gym routine, not physical therapy. Just walking after eating, because post-meal walking reduces blood glucose spikes by up to 30%, according to a 2022 study in the journal Sports Medicine. 8 weeks later, James sat across from me again. His fasting glucose had dropped to 98. His B12 had climbed to 487. His nerve conduction test showed a 19% improvement in signal velocity, 19% in 8 weeks. And he said something I will never forget. "I felt the gas pedal yesterday. For the first time in almost a year, I felt the pedal under my foot. I sat in my truck in the driveway and I cried." That is not a lab number. That is a man's life coming back to him. It is not too late for you. I need you to hear that. Whether you are 62 or 78, whether you have been living with numbness for 6 months or 6 years, your body is designed to heal. The nerves in your feet and hands are not dead. Most of them are dormant. They are waiting for the right signal. They are waiting for you to remove the poison and deliver the fuel. You now know more than 90% of people your age about what is actually destroying your nerves and exactly how to stop it. The question is what you do with that knowledge starting today. Think of one person right now, your spouse, your sister, your best friend from church, someone who has complained about tingling in their hands or burning in their feet, someone whose doctor told them it was just aging. Send them this video right now, not tomorrow, right now. That single action might be the most important thing you do today because they deserve to know what you just learned. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now. My mission is bringing you research-backed health information that is accessible, practical, and could genuinely change the trajectory of your health. That is what every video on this channel is built to do. In my next video, I am covering the 5 common medications that are silently destroying your kidneys. And I guarantee at least one of them is sitting in your medicine cabinet right now. You are going to want to see that. Drop the word informed in the comments if you feel more equipped to talk to your doctor after watching this. I read every single one. I am Dr. Harmoon, and your health is the only metric that matters. I'll see you in the next consultation.